Hi everyone, it's Pat at Beads and Plenty More, and today I'm going to make a moon bracelet with you. This is the finished product, and we have it in two colors. This one is in a clear pastel pink with silver beads, and this one that I'm going to make today has the frosted bead with the rose gold. Now I'm working with glass beads in the half moon, crescent moon shape, and I'm also working with metallic hematite in size 6 and size 4, which I've used in between. So let's get started. I'm going to use a 7 strand and 0.015 of beaded on tiger wire to string this on, and we're going to put a toggle clasp on the end. So start with I cut a piece of the wire, and I'm going to put the crimp bead on. I'm using tube crimps, which are different than what we've used before in the videos, and usually only need to use one tube crimp. And I'm also going to demonstrate the crimping pliers. Now at home you don't need to use the crimping pliers to crimp these. You can squish them with your needle nose pliers as well, just so that you know you don't have to use crimping pliers. So with the wire guardian, go in one side and around and down the other side. And I usually like to do that before I hook the clasp on. I find that a little bit easier. And so then when you're making a bracelet with a toggle, it's always wise to use the rounded end on your first end, because it helps with measuring, because the rounded end provides length where the bar end doesn't. So we got our wire guardian on there, and I'm just going to give it a little pinch to tighten it up at the bottom there, just like that. So on this end we're going to go ahead and put the crimp tube through. And now with crimping, of course, it's very important to have your two wires lying nice and flat. So we've got them sitting here, and we want them coming out of the wire guardian nice and even. It's always good to get that wire guardian snugged up at the top too, so we don't get that little gap of wire there. So that's where you need 6 hands, right? So we'll get that crimp bead sitting right there, and I go in with my crimping pliers to the second spot first. Go down hard. Oh, I didn't get that there. Give it that tug before I do the second side. So I've got one crimp done, and I'll turn it this direction. See the little divots there, and we go in with the other part of the crimping pliers to tighten it up there. And I just like to give it a nice little tug to make sure that it's solid. Okay, so there we go. We've got the one end done, and I'm going to go ahead and string on some beads here. I started with a small bead because that helps to be able to get the toggle bar through easier. So a small bead, and then the crescent moon piece, and I put the small in the middle. Now this design is quite neat because we're using the clear beads. From a distance it looks like your metallic beads are floating, which is kind of a neat effect. So at this end we want to make sure that we get that tail of the wire tucked right into everything. Not so important just yet until I get down to the other end. So that's the pattern, and I've got it all laid out here. We did make this design into a kit, and I've got it in 2 colors, the rose gold with the frosted and the clear pink, soft delicate pink with the silver. And the kits will be online. They're going to be $8.99, and it will be able to be ordered or bought in the store if you wish. Another little idea that I had with this design, if you don't want to wear a bracelet, you can always take a piece of chain and hook it on to go up around the neck and make it into a necklace. So there's more choices that you can do with the same beads and technique. So I'm going to pause now while I finish threading the rest of these beads, and then I'll come back and show you how to do the second side. Okay, so I've threaded the beads on to make the length that I wanted, and now we'll go back to doing the same thing as the first. We'll add the crimp bead first. Always remember the crimp bead goes first. Then we go up through the wire guardian, and again back down the other side. And hook the bar part of the clasp on this end. Now before you attach this end, of course, it's very important to check that your length is suitable for what you're wanting. So tighten that down a bit. And this side now will go through the crimp bead the second time, and through a few beads to get rid of that tail. Always remember when you're making a bracelet to curve your beads before you attach the second side, because you don't want the bracelet to not go around your wrist in a curved fashion. Okay, bring that little piece up there. And we're going to snuggle that up and then crimp that bead again. Get a hold of that little bead and give it a tug. So again, before I would crimp, I would tighten that wire guardian at the bottom there, just so that it sits into the crimp bead. Otherwise it kind of fights against the crimp bead and is a little bit too wide. There, just give it a little pinch so that it's in tight to the crimp bead. Okay, so we've got everything ready to tighten, and you got a peek in here just as to how the wires are coming out. There, that's the direction. Generally with a wire guardian too, it helps because they'll come out the sides of the wire guardian, the way the wire guardian is sitting, because you've got your two ends and they'll come out in that direction. So okay, we're ready now. Go in with the second side of the crimping pliers, crimp down hard, turn 90 degrees to the other side where we have the little divots in there, and go in with the front part and squeeze it tight. And sometimes I like to go in and give that just that little bit more of a squeeze. We'll come at it from the back side, it'll be easier. There we go. So now a beautiful bracelet, and all we have left to do is trim off this excess wire. I do use scissors. Any unit you use for cutting tiger wire will make little dents in your wire because it is a strong wire, but I find that the scissors with putting my fingers in is much easier for me to work with than a pair of pliers at this point. So we'll hook up the toggle clasp, and we have a bracelet complete. Now I don't have a lot of the crescent moon beads in the store, so it's a limited edition, this kit, but we do have another bead that will work. It's called an arco, and it's a much smaller curve, so you could make a more dainty bracelet if you find this one's just a little big. I'll just show you what the size of this one on my wrist. It's not that large, but you know, you can make it more dainty if you use the arcos. Well, thank you for listening, and hopefully you'll like our moon bracelet. Bye for now.